What time is it? It's Sampstra Games time. In the universe of strategy games, there's a brand new game that I want to show to you. It's called Iratus, Lord of the Dead. I'll be quiet for the intro.
Life is a disease. A millennium ago, a supreme necromancer was on the verge of conquering the world. But you know what they say about best laid plans. Inevitably, heroes shall emerge. So, I was made dead. Again. But what does death really mean for somebody who has mastered it?
Good question.
Boredom.
Love that answer.
An eternity to ponder my errors and how close I came to victory. I am a mortal, but when this world ends, even I will know oblivion. And so, I ask myself, will I be given another chance to rise before it happens? Another chance to fulfill my ambition? It seems that fate has smiled after all.
So as you can see, we're going to play Iratus, the Lord of the Dead. Now, I have been so excited to play this game. This game comes out around any day now, and I was able to look into it a little bit in advance. So big thank you to the developers for giving me a key to this game. And it's just so good. So I've been looking at other Let's Players. They've said that it's kind of like a reverse Darkest Dungeon, which I have not played, so I can't quite comment on that. But essentially, you play as the bad guys, and your job is to go from room by room and just kill all the good guys, and that's what we do in this game. So let's just get into it, because it's super fun. Start a new game, you can pick a difficulty for it on the tutorial. Let's go, okay, cool, it doesn't really matter. I'd rather focus on explain. Now we're going to do a little bit of explaining now. You have two options. You can start with the starting squad, or you can turn it off. I actually turn it off in the options, so I can pick my own starting squad. So this makes things a little bit more interesting, I think, because you can focus on what you want to focus on. But first, let's talk about the stats a little bit, because it's pretty important. So you have Vigor, so do your enemies, but your enemies also have a sanity bar, which is very important because you essentially have three types of damage that you can do in this game. You can do physical attacks and magical attacks. Both of these target the vigor of the enemy, and then you can have stress damage, which affects the sanity of the enemy. Now, if you get sanity to 0, then any attack on the enemy's sanity has a chance to give the enemy's heart attack. Now, this is pretty powerful. However, the problem is that it only has a chance to give the enemy heart attack, so you can always be certain that it's going to work out. So sometimes the enemies can have a lot of turns to hit you. That's pretty important. Then we have here, which is attack, which is how much damage a character will deal if it's physical or magical. Then you have dress, which is how much stress damage. Now what's important here that these numbers are not how much damage you're actually doing. You're using your abilities, and for example, the basic abilities on the skeleton does 100% damage, but some of the other ones like this one only does 50% damage. So something to keep in mind, that you're not always doing this number. Then you have accuracy. Accuracy shows the likelihood of hitting a target. Now, in comparison to that, you have evasion, which is your chance to avoid an attack. So this is something to look out for. You want to have a high accuracy. If you have people who have very low accuracy, you're not always going to hit them, which is not great. Then you have luck. Luck affects chance to give a crit chance. Now, some people, like Bride of Iratus, they can have some really insane critical hits. For example, in the chest piercer, instead of doing 80% damage, you do 200. So on someone like her, you really want to focus on luck. Next up, we have armor. Now, the way armor works is that if an enemy hits you, the armor number is subtracted from the damage that's done to you. So if the enemy is hitting you for 20 of armor of 5, they're only going to hit you for 15. So this is very important. However, there are some attacks that can bypass armor. Resistance is the same thing for magical attacks to what armor is for physical attacks. Then you have block. The way block works is that if you have one block, the first time enemy hits you, you will not get hurt at all because you block it. If you have 2 blocks, the first 2 times. for physical attacks. Ward is the same for magical attacks. Finally, you have initiative, which determines when you go. Now here you have abilities that you can use for any enemies. Now you have these yellow skulls and red helmets. Now the yellow skulls mean at what position your character has to be in order to be able to use them. So you have these 4 slots. This is the first, this is the 4th. And you need to be in the right position. So in order for my Bride of Iratus to use chest, because she needs to be in the 3rd or 4th position, but she can attack anybody because all the helmets are red. For example, here you can see that she has everything on everybody. The buckshot on the zombie can only hit the first 2 enemies. So this is very important because you need to position yourself right. Now sometimes you can see this sort of arrow. Let me show it with you with the Bride of Iratus right here. The arrow back and 3, that means when she's going to use it, she's going to move 3 steps back. So she's going to change her position. She's also moving the enemy 1 step forward. So she's hitting the enemy. So this is very important. And you want to keep an eye on that when you're using this to make sure that you can use your people in your right abilities. Because if, for example, she was in the 1st position, now she's going to be in the 4th position. So now she's only going to be able, she won't be able to use the Flames of Love, for example. So I have picked now you can also unlock more minions as soon as you sort of do things. For example, the Headhunter, we need to defeat any 3 bosses, or for Vampire, we need to turn 5 enemies into Vampire and stuff like that. You start off with these 6, already unlocked the Mummy and the Lich. Now we're going to start this off by creating our minions. So this is the number of parts that you have. What you can do is you can also go into Alchemy and fill them up into something better. There is, however, a small chance that it will fail, in which case you will lose both of these 2 parts. Now, this new battle types, you can see that has a green background. That means upgrade and gives you 2 accuracy, which is very cool. However, first I'm going to create my minions. I'm going to start this off with a Dark Knight. Now, Dark Knight has a fairly low HP. However, he's very interesting because he has high armor and resistance, which is very cool. Now, as for his abilities, I like him because he has this physical attack that deals 50% damage, but it deals additional 50% damage of the sum of his armor and resistance. So we really want to work on increasing his armor and resistance. So let's fill this up and make him. And we increased his accuracy a little bit because we gave him this weapon with high accuracy. Now, I'm going to read the Dark Knight in this episode. We're going to read the others in the different episode, I think, because I want to do some battles with you here. A manifestation of living void contained in a vessel of knightly armor. These necromantic soldiers are often seen leading the armies of undead against the civilization of the mortals. Where they learn the skills to do battle and wage war is unknown, but all of them despise existence and seek to reduce everything to nothing. Now, we're going to put him in the 1st position, because this ability, for example, can be used only in the first 2 positions. Now, I'm going to be focusing on attacking the enemy's Vigor, so I'm going to be ignoring the stress attacks. Instead, I want to focus on doing regular attack. You also have an interesting stance that, again, does stress attacks, so we don't really care. He has unfeeling aggression, but that can only be used if you're in the back. And then he moves him 3 steps forward, so essentially I can only use it once. So we're not going to be using that at all. Now, this final thing is special ability. It calls the Raid. The Raid you get once you sort of in battle, once you fight enemies. All enemies lose Vigor. The Dark Knight recovers the Vigor, so we can use this to heal himself. So we're going to do that. Let's continue with creation. Next up, we're going to build a skeleton. We're going to fill him up. Now, the very interesting thing about skeleton is this Astounding Fortitude, which gives him additional armor and resistance until next action, which allows him to sort of be protected against enemy hits. It also gives the enemies higher chance to hit him, so you can use that pretty well. He also has some interesting physical attacks like Unassuming Strike, which deals 100% damage, and it ignores armor. Very cool. Then he also has this, which is a Smite, attacks twice. This can be interesting if the enemies have block. You want to use this Smite to hit them twice, and you can destroy 2 of their blocks. So that's pretty nice. Next up, we're going to build a zombie. Now, zombies have some pretty cool abilities if you place them up front. We're, however, not going to place them up front. We're going to place them in the 3rd position, and we're going to use the bombardment on them, which is a stance where at the start of its next turn, the zombie attacks 4 times, each attack dealing 50% physical damage to a random enemy. So essentially, this does a 200% damage. This attack does not consume any action. This is extremely important because what does that mean? That on the first turn you use this, but on the next turn you do the attacks, but then you can use the bombardment again. So you play the first turn in order for every other consecutive turn to be able to do 200% damage, which I think is very cool. And then in the last position, we have a couple of options. We can either go again in the last position, we want to play the Bride of Iratus, which is the chest piercer. And in the last position, she has a chance of 80% dealing damage, but the critical hit will do 200% damage. So with her, we want to focus on luck. She also has some other things that she could potentially use, like Overwatch whenever an enemy moves, deal damage. But I don't think we really want to focus on that too much. She can also use Ropes for a Lady, which costs breath, but it hits everybody. You can see it by the sort of like line over the enemy's helmets. That means she can hit absolutely everyone, which is very powerful. Now, she also has Ignition here, which is important if she's put in the third position. This 50% damage, this is a magical damage, but it does damage to their health, and it can create a fire so we can do damage over time. So this is something we want to look at. Like, for example, if you look at the zombie, you can see that the bombardment can be done in the third or last position. And the stuff that we like about the Bride of Iratus can also be done from... like this thing can be done from the third or fourth position, and this thing can only be done from the third position. So we're actually going to place her where the zombie is and switch them up. We're going to switch them up like this. Okay? Now, next up we are going to do a little bit more of the alchemy. Now, why didn't I do the alchemy at the beginning? Well, the problem is I didn't know. Well, actually I did know, but sometimes you don't know like who you want to craft. So then you want to make sure that you have enough parts to actually do that. Now we're crafting this and we're upgrading our stuff. Now, for example, you can say this is going to give us luck in an initiative, so we would like to give it advantage. Now, you cannot give any part to anybody. It needs to be the sort of appropriate part to be used for that person. So sometimes you can use rags, for example, on a Dark Knight. Now, this is currently locked. So if I wanted to grab this and put it on somebody, even if it would have worked, I couldn't have put it there. But that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll change it in a second. So let me just continue with this, and I'm going to talk with you while I'll do this.
Skeleton will clean up this mess later. It's no gold, but it will do.
Okay, so next up what we have is talents. Talents are pretty cool. Essentially, they're like abilities of myself, of Iratus. And what I can do is I can use them to either do additional damage to the enemies, like sort of like use the power of Iratus to hit the enemies, or I can get some of the other upgrades. So let me show it up to you.
The smell of successful alchemy.
These are talents. You start off with 2 talents and you can pick one. So you can pick Alchemy, deals 20% stress damage to the target. It costs you mana. Now, mana does not get recharged in battles. However, there's some abilities of certain characters that can give you extra mana. Or you can, for example, get this. Iratus restores 5 mana after every fight. All minions gains additional for 2 actions, stuff like that. What I like the most is you can look at Alchemy, which increases the chance of receiving parts at the end of battle by 10%. Parts are the thing we're using to get these minions. Increases the chance of receiving souls of the artifact at the end. Now, souls are important in the graveyard, which we'll talk about in the next episode, I believe. Relic Seeker increases the chance of receiving artifacts at the end of battle. Artifacts I'll show you in a second. And allows you to replace parts in a minion with the higher quality parts of the same type. This is what I'm going to unlock right now. Then we have the magic, already read through that. Then we have ire, which mostly focuses on increasing a raid or increasing your minion abilities. I'm going to ignore that right now. Then we have distraction. This just focuses on plain distraction. For example, this Iratus deals 35 to 45 stress damage to the chosen enemy, but it also gives you 20 physical damage to random minion. So right now, what I'm actually going to pick is I'm actually going to go with this. With Iratus restores 5 mana after every fight. Now, right now I cannot use any attacks, so it might seem a little useless, but it's going to be useful later. I do like to have it from the beginning. Lastly, let's look at the artifacts. Now, we start off with some random artifact. We get Standard of Darkness. If no minions were killed in battle, all minions that took part in the battle restore 50% vigor. That's fantastic. That is amazing. So let's go to the dungeon. The kingdom had need of the vast riches buried underneath the castle, great veins of iron that promised to fuel conquest after conquest, along with ancient artifacts from a long-forgotten age. The dwarves were eager to offer their services in this project, bringing their untested mining equipment and experimental concoctions for the promise of wealth. They only needed bodies they could obey and that the humans could provide. The dungeons filled to the brim with both criminals and rebels. There was no shortage of slaves to work these mines. Drugs were used to keep them docile as they dug ever deeper year after year, unaware of the mortal danger that awaited them below. Ooh, I wonder what the mortal danger is. That's me. So we can pick your own path. Your goal is to get towards the boss, which is up here, and we can pick our own path. So for example, we're going to start with this battle here, and then we can pick between 3 directions. We'll talk about that once we get there. Let's do the fighting first. Alright, so we're gonna fight 3 of these guys. Up there is the initiative, it says the order. So this guy went first, now it's gonna go my Bride of Iratus and then my skeleton. Now this guy has gotten a Sinister Strike, so at the beginning of next turn he will deal 195% damage to a random target. Now with the Bride of Iratus, I'm going to start this off with Chest Piercer and I'm going to hit this guy up front. And I'm going to do 17 damage to him. Next up we'll go with the skeleton. Now his job is just gonna be about taking the Outstanding Fortitude. Because no one of the enemies has blocks, so we don't need to worry about it. So enemies will hit him. But he has a pretty good armor, so he should be able to defend himself. We actually hit the knight, but on the knight I have pretty good armor as well, so it's fine. This guy missed him, that's great. On the zombie, we're only going to go for bombardment, so we're not going to do anything this turn, but next turn we're going to do 200% damage or 4 times 50% damage. Now let's go with the knight, and we'll use Heartless Slash. It's going to deal some nice damage to the guy up in the front. 14 damage. We're using my Bride of Iratus, which is not great. We don't actually want her to get hurt. Yeah, the Dark Knight that's okay. He can take some damage, it's fine. He doesn't have a high health, but he does have the special abilities that essentially allow him. Let me just hit up this guy. Oh, this guy's dead. By the way, when somebody dies, it's gonna do a sanity hit on the other guys, which is interesting if you're playing for the stress archetype, which we're not. So we could go for a warning shot, but we move her backwards, which I don't think we want to do right now. So instead, actually we could, because we don't mind if the zombie moves forward. We'll use the warning shot on him. And then we're going to do Heartless, yeah, we have the Nagas, so we're going to go with Heartless Slash on you. Now that warning shot only shot is Sanity, but again, it's something that you can use quite a bit if you're going for the stress type. I could actually try to kill him with the Sanity, but probably take a while and we would take a lot of damage, just so I don't think it's worth it. Go for, actually we could do this. Deals 200 damage. Costs us 45 red, but we have 46 wrath. 26 to 30 you have. Yeah, actually let's use it on this guy. That seems pretty cool. Moves us backward, which is okay. They keep missing the Dark Knight, which is great. Now you do twice attack on him. Great, he's dead. I wasn't sure if we were going to hit him, so I was like, let's do it twice. See wait a minute, we can kill him. We'll use the physical attack again on this guy. And again, we could try to do the stress damage, but it is pretty risky. Oh, you know what? Let me show it to you. Let's try to kill him with the stress damage. I'm gonna take a little bit of damage just so I can show you. But I do think it's pretty cool if you can see it. So this guy's going to keep going on bombardment. But everybody else, like you, try to do a... No, not you. The problem with the stress attack on the skeleton is that he loses a lot of vigor. So we definitely don't want to do that. That'd be a very bad choice. But we can use it with her. Let's use another warning shot again. And we can try to use... And with the Dark Knight, we can also use the Hollow Stare stress attack. Yeah, okay. So if you lower the stress attack enough, they get this, which is a chance... they get some sort of insanity. In this case it's betrayal, which is giving him a chance to hit an ally. Unfortunately he doesn't have any ally nearby, so he can't really do much of anything, but if he had, he would have hit him. So that's a pretty cool thing about stress attack. So let's go with the girl. We're going to use another warning shot again. Great. And the Dark Knight should hopefully get his stress to 0 now. At this point, oh, he didn't. Okay, at this point this guy is still not quite dead yet. We can use this stress attack, that's fine. He's not quite dead yet, but now every time you do any kind of a sanity damage to him, he has a chance of getting a heart attack. Oh, actually, he died normally. He has a chance of getting a heart attack, which is pretty cool. And then if you do kill him with the heart attack, the other enemies get also lower their sanity, so you can get sort of like a chains of heart attacks, which is pretty cool. But oh, we get Amulet of Perfection. Let's check that out. It's a new artifact we could use. Minions made up of 4 uncommon parts of more gain additional 20 vigor during the battle. Cool, so we definitely want to make sure that a lot of our people are made from uncommon parts, which we definitely want to do. So, let's look into it. So we have this extra dust, which gives us extra initiative and vigor. This is actually pretty good on my Dark Knight, as he does get hit quite a bit. Then we have bones, which give us extra accuracy and attack. This would be good in the Dark Knight, but I can put it on him. Anything else I can actually put on him? This gives me extra accuracy. Sure. Let's check out the Bride of Iratus. Could we give her anything that gives her luck? This gives her accuracy and vigor. No, I'd rather give her luck. Accuracy and attack. Yeah, luck and vigor. We're gonna give her this. Let's give her a little bit of extra health, but more importantly, gives her extra luck, which is very important. Now, the knight, we unfortunately are unable to increase his armor and resistance. If we can get anything like that, that's what we want to prioritize with him. Now, as for the skeleton, doesn't really matter. Dread, no, we don't care about dread. But it gives us extra armor too. We should put that on this guy, but it doesn't have a skull. What is this? Extra initiative and luck. Let's put that on Bride of Iratus as well. And extra accuracy and vigor. We could put that on. We should put that on zombie. Actually, we can't. But we could put on the zombie this, which is extra accuracy, which is great because he had very low accuracy. And nothing else. So lastly, let's put some stuff on the skeleton, which is bones, which gives him extra dread or extra attack and accuracy. That's way better. This gives him extra dread and armor. I do like the armor. And that's it. So let me try to use alchemy to upgrade some of the other things we have.
It's no gold, but it will do.
And we'll see if we can get them some good stuff. So you have this. This gives you extra luck or extra vigor and luck. Sure, let's give him vigor and luck. I do like having him with the high health. That's always good. That is all. Gotta admit that. Yeah, nothing else is really useful for me right now. So I mean, extra dread. We're not really using dread on her much, so I think I'll just ignore. Oh, but this extra accuracy and vigor or extra luck. Let's give her extra luck. So he has 24% chance, which is 1 in 4. That's actually pretty good. Now, if you look at the map, we have a couple of options. We can go to Grave and get a free minion. We can go to Ancient Coffin and get some items, or we can go for a quest. Now, usually you want to look at like not just the one thing, but like a bigger area. So here we would have gotten one more battle, then a quest. This way we could go to some healing, Ancient Coffin, some more. This is not a bad path actually here. In the middle we get a coffin, battle, grave. No healing for a long time though. Yeah, I think we'll go on the left. So let's go towards an ancient tomb and get a free minion. Always like those. We can get a skeleton, a dark knight, or a banshee. I think I'm going to go for a dark knight. I think he's most likely to get hurt a lot. So if you have 2 of them, the cool thing you can do is you can just kind of like switch them up and trade between them while the other one is healing. So I'll show you healing with the graveyard in the next episode. Now, the guy that we have gotten, we also got an ectoplasm, which gives him extra armor and dread and luck. Now, the extra armor is especially good for this ability, so he can now do a little bit more damage because the sum of his armor and his resistance is actually 19 instead of 16, which is already. So this guy's actually way better than the guy I already have. But this guy seems to have all sorts of uncommon items, so he might get that extra health. Alright, so this time, because he has 4 uncommon parts, he's going to get extra health, but it's only going to be in battle, so we won't see it right now. Alright, so that's going to be it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, write down in the comments, click on the right top to watch the next one, or click on the right bottom to watch Wheel of Glory Empires, which is a 4X game. I'll see you in one of those. Bye bye!